There's been a discussion going around on social media on if you can be a fan of a video game without ever having played that video game. And this discussion has been prompted by a lot of people feeling that people are LARPers or posers for claiming to be fans of games that they've never touched in their lives, purely because a lot of people have consumed gaming media by watching Let's Plays or just entire playthroughs of the game because maybe they couldn't afford it, or maybe they're just not the best video game player and they personally don't feel like they had the skills to play the game. And in my personal opinion, I believe wholeheartedly that you can absolutely be a fan of a video game without ever playing the video game. But that comes with caveats. I think that you can enjoy a lot about a game without having to play the video game. I think you can be a huge fan of the characters if the Let's Plays and the watch throughs you played delve into the characters and go through all the cutscenes and maybe the optional dialogues and a lot of the lore. I think you could be a fan of the story. I think you be a fan of the music. I think you'd be a fan of the art direction. I know there are people who haven't played games that I have sunk hundreds of hours into personally that know more about the game than I do because they took the extra step to go and read more about the game. There are a lot of games that I love that I just don't know all that much about. I love the Fallout franchise, but if you were to ask me a lot about the Fallout franchise, all I could really tell you is the things that have to do with the main story for the games that I've played and maybe some of the side content. There are people who haven't played the game who can tell you the story of every single vault outside the game. They can tell you the lore of the Brotherhood of Steel. They can tell you the lore of the Outcast. They can tell you all the stuff that I just don't know because I didn't take that extra step. And I think it's bizarre to tell that person that they are not a fan of the game, not just less a fan, not a fan of the game at all because they never played it. It doesn't add up. You can still enjoy a medium. We've already had discussion on this channel when it comes to can you be a fan of a superhero movie or a superhero product or comic books in general was the discussion without having read the comic books themselves. And we agreed that maybe not a comic book fan, but you can be a fan of that superhero if you just watched all their movies. Then you love Spider-Man movies, then that's fair. If you watch all their animated series, then you love all the Spider-Man animated series. Maybe you watch Ultimate Spider-Man, Spider-Man 97, Spectacular Spider-Man, then you're a fan of that. So it's hard to tell someone, nah, you don't like it if that's what they've consumed all their life, then they are a fan of that. Same way with the game, they can take that extra step and go out and get so much more information and get so much more lore that they become a fan of the product. Or even just by watching the Let's Plays and absorbing that information over and over and over again, they can then become a fan and have a conversation on the same level of someone that has played the game. Now, like I said, with there being a caveat with that, I don't believe there are certain things you can speak about if you haven't played the game. I don't think you can talk about game feel because it's very, very different from watching a game to playing a game. There are a lot of games that I have watched without playing or I hadn't played at the time that looked like they didn't feel good in hand to play. And there's a very, very different feeling to actual having the controller in hand, moving the character, feeling the feedback of the controller or the mouse and keyboard, whatever it may just feel a lot better to actually physically interact with the medium. And that's something that I don't think that someone who's never physically played the game can have a conversation about. But to say that they can't be a fan, that's just completely wrong. You can absolutely be a fan. I mean, it's like saying you can't be a fan of a sports team because you never played on the team. I mean, it's just absurd. Yes, we're all fans of sports teams, aren't we? We never played on the team. So I know video game is a much more interactive medium, but we gotta give people grace when it comes to these things. But let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Behave yourself.